to keep him from killing himself until she gets the go-ahead from Patel's character. I don't know his name. Maher? Is it Maher?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so he's supposed to give her a signal with a flare, basically letting her know when he can kill himself or when she can kill him. And that would... and he's waiting on word from Ives and the protagonist from when they get hands on the artifact. And meanwhile, while they're trying to get the artifact, Neil is running around. I was really confused on what the hell he was doing that whole time until the end, and then everything made sense. So I'm like, why the hell is he he's running off from the group? He kind of seems like he's going rogue and kind of just trying to save the world on his own at that one point when he kind of, just branches off and he just runs off. And that's when Ives and Ives and the protagonist get in trouble while they're trying to get the lock or get the door open. And out of nowhere, right before... Oh, no. Jesus Christ, I'm getting so confused trying to explain this. What the hell did I hear was?
Somebody runs up on them with a gun, and they basically is going to kill Ives and the protagonist, and this
right.
This blue... unknown blue kind of soldier, introverted obviously, runs in front of him and gets a bullet to the head, basically sacrificing himself this guy doesn't get the drop on the protagonist and Ives, and we don't really get much context until later on, but then they're able to keep going, right, with the timer.
Yeah, they're able to stop that guy, Sator's right hand guy or whatever he is. They end up killing him, and like you said before, the protagonist kind of looks over at this guy's body who saved him, and he just kind of they focus in on a little piece of his backpack, which you don't see until later on, like you said. And they end up saving... Neil ends up backing a car up because he ends up stealing a little Hummer, drops the rope down, they get attached to it, and pulls them out of the cave, basically, before it explodes. And they're all talking about how, basically, Ives is he breaks the artifact up in 3 pieces and gives one, he takes a piece, Neil takes a piece, and the protagonist takes a piece. And he's like, well, we'll all hide it somewhere, and then we'll just, he said we'll kill ourselves, right? So that way we can't go back and get it.
Or nobody can basically torture them and figure out where to pinpoint them, to connect them or whatever. And then Ives is like, well, I'm going to try to find you, and if I see you guys again, I will execute you. And then Neil makes a joke where he's like, oh, but you're not going to be really looking that hard. And he's like, yeah, I am. So...
And, yeah.
Yeah, and then, Neil's... Ives starts to go back to the chopper or whatever it is, and then Neil's like, wait for me. Don't you need a locksmith or something? And Ives is like, yeah, I've never known one, anybody better at that job than you. And then when Neil is walking away, you see on his backpack he has that kind of same lanyard keychain thing that's from both of the beginning of the movie, the introverted bullet that saves the protagonist at the opera, and then when you see the mysterious introverted blue soldier who gets a bullet to the to the head sacrificing himself also has the keychain. So then it's kind of revealed right there that that's Neil in another timeline that somehow got underneath to, sacrifice himself, pretty much closing his loop there, where we know that he meets that's where he dies, but just not in this timeline.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. And then go ahead.
And then Neil kind of hints to the fact that he knows, Neil knows the protagonist in the future. And he's like, he says like, who hired us, basically, or who's the one running everything in the future? And he's like, well, you are. And then he's like, you find me later on. He's like, you find me in my past, but your future. He's like, somewhere down the line in your future, you'll meet me, a younger me, but in my past, I meet you. And it's saying that, when they're saying that, it's like, well, it's so confusing, but it makes sense at the same time, I guess.
They're basically saying he's saying the protagonist that we know, that's the beginning for him, but then that's Neil's end at the same time. Yeah. So then he's like, the thing what Neil said was, it really got to me, was like, yeah, we become, we're pretty close, you and I, in your future. And he's like, I think, this is essentially the end of our friendship for me, but just the beginning for you. Which was like, everything, it came like kind of full circle, like a loop, like you said. Mm-hmm. And I was like, man, and you could see in the protagonist's eyes that he wants to tell him so bad, because he knows it's him who's going to die, who basically saved them. He sacrificed himself, like you said, and he wants to tell them. He's like, hey, well, can the outcome still be the same if we do it a different way? And he's like, and Neil says this saying a couple times throughout the movie, and he's like, what has happened, or what happens has happened, something like along those lines. And basically, you can't change what's happened; it's already happened. So just go with it. I think it's what has happened will happen.
Yeah,
something like that. But
and he has this little smirk on his face where he's just like, he's kind of, Neil is like smiling, and to me, I think that he already knows what happened.
Yeah, it seems like that's why he goes with. It's like he already knows his destiny. Where he's like, that's why he gives. If you notice, he gives the protagonist his half of the algorithm. Where he's like, you're really gonna go back in? And he's like, like, what else am I gonna do? It's almost like he's just playing out what he already knows is gonna unfold. But I guess
that part really, yeah. I felt pretty like that was a pretty emotional scene, even though it was kind of short. It was only like a minute or something, but it was like, wow, that kind of like, man, Robert Pattinson, that dialogue between them, like we've said before, he's such an underrated actor, and I don't know, he's really good, man. Both of them together in that scene, this whole movie, they're great.
Yeah, can't agree more. So then we fast forward to Kat, and she's outside of her son Max's school. She sees a suspicious car, calls somebody, and turns out it's the Priya woman, mm-hmm. who has returned to tie up loose ends. So she has a hitman on standby, ready to take Kat out, and then fucking ruthlessly, the protagonist gets in the car before anybody has a chance to think, takes out the hitman, and he's like, "What do you think you're doing?" And she's she knows what's coming, and she's like, I had to do this. It's what needs to happen. And she's like, how did you know? And then it's revealed that Kat called him and kind of tipped him off for him to show up, which is nuts.
And then he explains to her, he explains to her, it's like, it's funny, the person who hired both of us is me. And then, again, like, these lines, like, if you say them out of context, it doesn't make any sense at all. And she's like, well, like, she says, like, well, I know it has to be done. And then she kind of, she gets capped, you know?
Yeah, she says something like, well, you better tie up your loose ends then, or whatever. And then you just hear that kind of infamous, like, the silencer sound that Nolan's known for, you know?
Yeah.
More recently, yeah, where she's done. And then, and I don't know if you think this too, or if it's just me, but then we see Kat kind of reunited with her son, and there's, you know, nobody snatching her kid away from her. She's reunited, but we don't see really Max's face much in the same way that the kids are presented in Inception. It's the same way with Max. Yeah. But I think because the Maximilian, Max's full name is Maximilian, and I think that the last half of his name is I believe Neil backwards. So I think that, and I don't know if you're on board with this or not, but I think that Max.
Holy shit! Yeah, you just blew my mind.
Yeah, I think Max is Neil as a kid, and that's why. Yeah.
Oh my god! I did not catch that until you said that. Damn! Wow, mind more blown.
Yeah, so I think that's Pattinson's character essentially as a child. So it's like everything is starting from that point. Everything has already happened. It's crazy.
That's crazy. So that's why, you know, Neil kind of, you know, that's why he kind of feels like so, like, not attached, but like he knows him so well.
Mm-hmm. And that's why he knew
know him from a kid.
Like, even going back to that little detail where, what was it? Where Neil knew about the details of Sater being on that Vietnam, yacht. It was because he was on there as a kid, as Max.
Yeah.
So he recalled those memories because he was there with his mom, you know? That's why it wasn't that he was like, a double agent or somebody was tipping him off. It was because he was like lived all this stuff. And he was, I think, so attached to the protagonist's character because he essentially like saved his mom. He let him live like this life that he probably wouldn't have ever got. You know what I mean? He probably wouldn't have been able to be around his mom in the same way because Sater, even recalling back to like the middle of the movie, was like, even offers Kat the opportunity, like, okay, you want to be free of me, then forget about Max and you can never see him again, and then you can go free, you know. So the protagonist, I feel like in a weird way kind of gave him this new chance at life, and which is oddly enough later on, you know, down the road after they've, you know, bonded over years, he gives his life for him in another timeline. Yeah. So it's very, very weird, complex, mind-blowing stuff.
Man, I did not catch that. Oh man, how did you catch that? I didn't even think about that. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm gonna rewatch the movie tomorrow.
The only thing that, and I feel like he didn't want to, he wanted to, that was his little, like, I'm not going to let you watch the top, you're not going to know if the